but nothing ever stopped me from dusting off my shoes. You might think you'll see me.
Hi, and welcome to Run Tall with Tim. I'm Tim. Thanks for being here. I always appreciate our time together, so thanks for tuning in. And I hope wherever you are that you're happy, healthy, and staying safe. On today's video, I'm going to be going over week 3 of our marathon training program. Now, before I get rolling, I just want to give you a real quick tip because this is something that came up to me on Saturday when I was going out for my long run. I was taking out my hydration vest, which was a terrific thing to do. I didn't have to worry about carrying a water bottle for that length of time. Just much more comfortable to do that. But one of the things I forgot to do, and for lack of a better term, I'm going to say burp the bladder within the vest. So when I took off running, that water was really sloshing around. So if you want to reduce the sloshing in your hydration vest, the quickest and easiest way to do that, I think, is just to take and turn it completely upside down so that you can get all of that air that's out of it. So then just suck the air out, flip it back up, right side, put it back on, and you're pretty much good to go. And that'll reduce a lot of the different sloshing that you had. Now, I had to do that. I forgot to do that step when I took off running, so it was sloshing around quite a bit when I first took off. But while I was running, I just unsnapped the vest, turned it upside down, sucked the air out, put it back on, and I was good to go. And I did all of that without really missing a beat in my stride. So love the vest. I forgot to burp it though. So just a quick tip to make things go a little bit more smoothly for you when you're out on your run. Okay, so now let's take a look at the workouts that were completed this week. To do that, again, I'm going to go to connect.garmin.com, so I have to kind of look away at my computer screen, so again, I apologize for that. Once we click on that, it brings me right up to my dashboard. I'm going to navigate all the way over to the left-hand side. This time I'm going to start right where it says training, and I'm going to go down to training plans, and of course it brings up my active training plan, and I'm going to click on 3 because we're interested in week 3. Now that started right out with a yoga class or Pilates, whichever, dealer's choice, I guess in this case, and it came up last week. When I talked about yoga, what yoga I do, well, there's a ton of really good yoga channels that are out there on YouTube. My personal favorite is Yoga with Adriene, and if you just go in and type in Yoga with Adriene for runners, it's going to bring up a bunch of related videos that she's done, and she's a runner herself, so she practices what she preaches, so I really appreciate that. And then the first workout or run for the week is some interval training. And I'm going to take you out there to check that out here in just a second. And then we went to some cross training. We had a recovery run. And then there was a rest day. And we talked about that a little bit in some of the comment sections of the previous week's video about honoring those rest days. And then some interval training, and then I ended the week with a long run. So I'm going to back all the way up to the first run of the week, which was doing some intervals. And to do that, to talk about a little bit more detail, I'm going to just kick it out to myself as I was going out to do those intervals down at my local school. The weather still isn't perfect here, but it's much better today than it has been. It's about maybe just shy of 40 degrees Fahrenheit today. So I don't have to worry as much about the ice and the snow on the roads. There's still some black ice, so I do have to be careful of that. I'm wearing the Rebel V2s today, which is a really fun thing for me to do because I've been running in the Asics Gel Nimbus 24s for quite a while. And it just feels like a real treat to put some light, quick shoes on for a change to do these interval workouts. So the format is pretty simple. I'm going to be running basically at threshold pace after my warm-up. So I'm going to warm up for 10 minutes. And I'm basically going to be running in a circle around the elementary school parking lot for 5 minutes at a threshold pace. Threshold would be basically running at a pace where I can speak maybe 4 or 5 words at a time, but not much more than that. So it'll be a pretty decent effort. I suspect that that'll be about a pace of around a 7-minute mile, maybe a little faster than that. And then I'm gonna cool down or I should say rest for about 90 seconds in between, and then I'll repeat that sequence. 5 minutes threshold, 90 seconds recovery, 5 different times, and then I'll cool down with my jog home for 10 minutes. So I'm at the elementary school now, and the parking lot looks clear. This is actually where I ran speed repeats last week as well. So I was hoping that it was going to still be ice free, and it is. And I don't see a lot of shine or glare, so I don't think I'll have to worry too much about the black ice. All right, I'm going to finish my warm up and get into it. So let's take a little closer look at those intervals and see how they turned out. To do that, I like to use the app that's on my smartphone. I just find it a little bit easier. So I'm going to click on the Garmin Connect app. That brings me right up to my day. And then there at the bottom, I'm going to click on calendar. And then I'm going to click on the 21st. And then from there, I'm going to scroll down, click on intervals. And then from there, I'm going to slide over and I'm going to highlight the run itself. And here we can see how those intervals turned out. So the first one was a 6:57 minute mile, then 6:55, 6:53, 7:01, and then 7:05. So clearly I got a little bit slower as they went along, and that's okay. That's what it's all about, really kind of taxing the system, trying to build that VO2 max. So I think overall it turned out pretty well. So let's just take a quick look and see how the rest of the week turned out. To do that, I'm going back to my computer screen, back to connect.garmin.com. I'm going to slide all the way over to the left-hand side. Here I'm going to go to all activities, and then I'm going to click over on run because that's what we're interested in. And from here, I'm going to take a look at the 23rd of February, which is a recovery run. So I'm going to click on that. And while that's coming up, I want to talk a little bit about the shoes I was wearing. So I had taken out the Adidas Atastar to give them a try, or to run in them again, because I was thinking that I was going to use those for the long run that was coming up on Saturday, because that's really the niche that those shoes are made for, is those long runs. But unfortunately, only about maybe a mile and a half, 2 miles into that recovery run, and I tweaked my ankle a little bit in those. And I think just for some reason when I came down, pretty much on my midfoot, I could feel it on my right ankle. And that was a little bit troubling to me, a little bit concerning. So I had to get back. I had to really focus on my foot strike and stay more up on my forefoot. And then I found a really comfortable place to be in at that point. But being more up on my forefoot, I was running faster than I wanted to for a recovery run. Now, my recovery run was an 8:53 minute mile. I was really shooting for a little bit slower than that because I'm supposed to be recovering and not really, pushing the pace. And while that's not super fast, that's just a little bit faster than I wanted to go on that recovery. So in total, it went 6:42 in terms of total distance. Okay, so let's click back, and then from here I'm going to take a look at the intervals that were completed on the 25th. Now this was done a little bit differently, and for that, and that's because it's Michigan. So I'm going to kick back out to myself on the day of the 25th, just before I went out for this run. I'm supposed to be running some intervals today, but you can probably see out the window behind me that Mother Nature has reared her ugly head a little bit today. I woke up with several inches of new snow. So it's going to be one of those times, much like last week in week 2, where it came up to a speed day and weather had interfered a little bit with that plan. Much of the same for today. So instead of running in shoes like the Rebel V2, or I was going to run in the Mach 4s today, that's not going to happen. It's just too icy, too snowy out there. So I'm going to be picking up a trail shoe. Right now I'm leaning towards one of the Nike trail shoes, but I've got the Speedgo kind of on the side as well. So I'll make that decision here in just a minute. But I do have to layer up because it's still in the teens, so it's cold and we got some wind and snow and things blowing in my face. So I've got a base layer on already. For tights, I'm wearing the Run Dash compression tights by 2XU. I love those things. They give me a lot of support, so I'm really enjoying them. I'm going to be wearing a pair of pants over the top of those as well. These are actually cycling pants, but they're well insulated and it helps to keep the cold out. I've got a couple other layers I'm going to be putting on as well. Of course, I've got like a quarter zip that you guys have seen in a lot of my videos. I love this thing. Columbia makes it. It's got this insulation in there, helps keep me warm and cool, or warm. It helps keep the cold out. And then I've got my old Asics jacket I'm going to hand on over the top of that. This thing's seen thousands of miles. I'm also, because of the wind and because of the cold, I'm going to be wearing like a hood type deal here. I guess they would call this a buff, but it comes down over my over my head, my ears, and gets a lot of my face. So basically the only thing you see sticking out is about this much. So because my cheeks and my nose and stuff, that can get really bitter cold. So today I'm going to be layered up. Adds a lot of extra weight, but what are you going to do? We're Michiganders, and this is what we have to contend with. So I'm just going to be doing my best to try to honor the interval workouts. The format is to run hard, basically, or moderately hard, I think is the way they describe it. So not exactly at threshold, but up there for 10 minutes, and then to have 2 minutes of recovery time. Do it again for another 10 minutes with some recovery time, and that's it. It's the 2 10-minute intervals. And that's, you have a 10-minute warm-up and then a 10-minute cool-down at the end of all of that. So basically, it's about a 45, 50-minute workout altogether. So we'll let you know how it goes here in a little bit. So I just finished up. I ran on the road as much as I could, which isn't always the safest thing to do. But it was probably the best option considering the sidewalks were really slippery, lots and lots of ice. I ended up going with the Nike Pegasus Trail 3, and that worked out pretty darn well. I was impressed overall with the comfort of the ride, for one, but also, it dug into that looser snow a little bit. It was still pretty slippery, so there were times when I had to slow right down. I couldn't really push hard, or at least not as hard as I think that the workout was calling for, but we got it done, and that's about all we can hope for some days. Now, by pace for those 2 intervals, the first one for the first 10 minutes was a 7:37-minute mile, and then the second 10 minutes after that 2-minute of recovery time ended up being a 7:44-minute mile. So now let's go back and we'll take a look and see how the long run turned out. So I'm going to just head back to my computer screen here and click on long run. And here you can see that it was an 8:55-minute mile pace. Went just a little over 13 miles. Took about an hour and 56 minutes to do that. Now, I thought that I had solved my frozen nutrition problem because I had decided to, tuck it in with my inside my waist belt, and I thought that my body heat would keep it from freezing. That didn't happen. It froze again, and so it was a bit of a trick. I ended up just basically busting off small pieces at a time, kind of stick it in my cheek like a squirrel, let it warm up before I could actually chew it. So I have to do a little bit more work on that. And I also mentioned early in the video, right off the bat, the tip about the hydration vest. So that was the other issue that came up, is I needed to get all that air out to reduce the slosh. But overall, I thought it was a successful week. Hey, thanks for making it to the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it for you. As always, run tall, run strong, be kind to one another, and we'll see you next week right here on Run Tall with Tim to continue our marathon journey.
You might think you'll see me